Recognition, power, and influence is your birthright, and this podcast shows you how to get there. Welcome to episode number 251. I am so excited to bring to you my special guest this week, Kate Wade. Kate and I have been working together for many, many years, originally as one of my coaches and mentors, and now we are partners in helping more women advance to the executive level. Kate is a resume and interview expert. She is a jack of all trades when it comes to stealthily maneuvering your resume and your interview techniques in order to make it through those final rounds of interviews. She has so much incredible wisdom that she offers her clients, and I am absolutely thrilled to share some of that with you today. Let's get started. Welcome to Women Changing Leadership. I am your host, Stacy Mayer, and I teach you how to get promoted, get paid, and bring your whole self to the leadership table. I am on a mission to change organizations from the C-suite out because women are the new face of leadership, and we are doing it on our terms. Hello, corporate badasses. Welcome to another episode of Women Changing Leadership. I am your host, Stacy Mayer, and super excited, as always, to be here with you again this week. This week, I have a dear friend and actually one of my personal coaches in my leadership journey, and it has been such an incredible ride since I first met Kate, and Kate has known me since way back when, before I even came up with the idea of executive ahead of time. I think now I'm remembering in real time, she was the one who said, Stacy, just do it. Create the program. And this is one of the things that I love so much about Kate is now in her work, and we'll get into much more of what she's doing today to help corporate women leaders get into those higher level leadership positions that they already deserve. She is really good at seeing what is possible for us and giving us that pathway to get there. And she did that for me and obviously helped so many women along the way. So I'm really, really grateful for her work and what she's doing in this world. And I'm so glad to have you on the podcast. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Stacy. Thanks. It's great to be here today. I'm delighted to be on this side of the microphone too.
Do you remember telling me to just do it? I don't know. I feel like that's like a thing that you would say.
I particularly remember you kind of mulling over a decision and deciding if you should wait 6 months to implement.
Oh, yes, exactly. It was 6 months. I was like, I'm going to do it next year. And you were like,
why in 6 months? Why not today? What's holding us back from doing this today?
Oh.
I think that's so true for women in that I meet in corporate roles that are like, well, I just got this role, or, well, there was just this change and let me wait and see.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell no.
Yes. Oh my God. So good. Well, let me formally introduce you and then we'll dive into our questions today. Kate Wade is the founder of Get Her Hired, is on a mission to help 10,000 women and cool men and thems secure the executive roles they have earned. Drawing from her experience as a former executive in a Fortune 200 company, she writes scroll-stopping resumes and has helped her clients secure over $1.5 million in hard-earned salary increases just since 2019.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
And some of my clients as well. It's been amazing.
Yeah,
so many women that get, it's been a great opportunity for clients to work with me and you at the same time. And we'll talk more about how you help people with their resumes and mock interviews and so on. But yeah, it's been really cool. And I know my clients have benefited a great deal from your support and guidance.
Thank you. Yeah. You work with badass women, the people listening out there today, the cool men and thems and the badass women out there. They are already doing great, but are they really functioning at their greatest capability? And sometimes how their own mindset can hold them back from doing that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to you, put the spotlight back on you as we get started here. Can you share with us your own personal secrets to success?
Yeah, I think that when I look back over my very, very career, so if anyone wants to look up my LinkedIn, I'm completely transparent. My career has gone in many different directions, from founding a nonprofit to working in a Fortune 200 to starting my own business to blah, blah, blah. And I think along the way, what I really see over time is my openness to just take things on. Like, not know how to do it. I may not be the expert in the room on it. I may not be, someone you would assume would be able to do one of these roles, but I just take it on, get it done. And then the key is not only taking it on and getting it done. Something I've done over my career is showing my impact. So not telling people my impact, but really showing the impact by documenting my impact over time and then sharing that documented impact with people.
I feel like that is a big part of the work you do at Get Her Hired. And I'm curious, as you're talking about this resume that's kind of many different directions, that a lot of my clients experience that as well. Like, they have a real North Star, as in they want to make impact, they want that voice at the table, but kind of how they get there is less relevant. So can you talk about how you would guide clients with that sort of all over the map resume?
Absolutely. So the variety of clients I work with, some are on a very clear trajectory and have been in an industry and growing kind of in that hierarchical, chronological manner that most people expect. And so there are many people doing that and doing that really extremely well. And then I have the clients who I tend to see them as a little bit more on the creative side than on the technical side. And on the creative side, sometimes these clients get into different industries, but there's always a through line. And the through line is going to be something related to something they're incredibly passionate about. And when I look at my career, I was starting a PhD program at the University of Illinois, and I was going to do a PhD in German literature, 18th century German literature. And at the time, I said to myself, why am I analyzing other people's work? Why am I not creating my own work? I dropped out of my PhD program. So I was like, I want to analyze other people's work for the rest of my life. I want to be a creator, a first-person creator of work. And it's taken me through many different avenues over time, but I'm in a place now, I think Prince, I'm from Minneapolis, and I live in Minneapolis now. And, there's this Prince quote that he says, sometimes it takes years to become an overnight success, right? And so for me, I'm like, yeah, it's taken me these 25 years to really be at the point where I'm capable of and excited to and have zero fear in writing my own original content. I love it.
Oh, yeah. It's a big deal. That is a big deal. And so when you think about what's next for you and this idea of getting 10,000 women and cool men and them into higher level or positions that they already deserve, what is it that is going to propel you to that next level? So, you haven't arrived by any means. You're finally figuring out the pieces, zero fear. I love that. But what is the next level version of you that's going to be able to do that?
Stacy, you're such a good coach, because this is such a good coaching question. And it's been something I've been reflecting on over the past year and a half. I've been doing this work full time, and maybe many of your clients can relate to this too, and the listeners. I get into this role. I'm doing it full time a year and a half. Prior to that, I was doing it, part time. And I'm at the point where I'm very comfortable. I know exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I know exactly who to talk to. I know exactly what lever to pull. And I bet a lot of your listeners can relate to that. And so I've recently been thinking a lot about, what is that next thing? And I haven't fully formed it yet. But what it is my philosophy on female leadership. And a lot of people talk about shattering a glass ceiling, getting on the never-ending escalator. And there's this bursting through the tower. There are these metaphors and analogies of siloed leadership. And I think that is an archaic model of leadership that, in my experience, isn't helping the world do the work it needs to do. And so when I think about the model of female leadership in the future that I want to advocate for and help people understand and implement, it's more like a community center. It's more like a YMCA, a YWCA, where we've got different rooms for different people, but we're all on the same level. We're all on the same level, and we all use our resources to keep the health of the community or the business alive. Wow. And so how do women lead in a manner that creates community and not towers with silos and glass and things to break?
Yeah, exactly. Because even just that approach and being like, I have to push through is one of the challenges that a lot of women face. And what I notice for my clients is that we have a tendency to push through, but only so long. And then we start to back off. And what I noticed from you, and this is that sort of, well, you could do it next year or you could start the program now kind of mentality, is the kind of why not me, which is like, it's almost like I see it as like two different roads, two different paths. We can push through or back off like a roller coaster, or we can just sort of start to lead and go forward in this why not me, why not now approach. So a client comes to you, let's just talk about your process. I see this all the time, have a amazing resume, but maybe they don't communicate about themselves well. Maybe they communicate about themselves well. You ask them some good questions and you're like, wow, you're way more badass than this resume says you are. So what kind of, when you first meet a client, what are you looking for? What are you thinking about to kind of bring out the most in them?
Well, first of all, want to really understand their goals and why. Why is that the goal? And sometimes, and I imagine you encounter this, Stacy, with when you're working with people, is that they have a goal. Then when they look at the why that goal, the goal shifts a little bit.
Right, sure.
So it's really uncovering, what is that goal? What do you want and why do you want it? And then, looking at, okay, if that's where you want to be, and this is where you are now, what's the gap, right? Which is always what we're trying to, in our lives, close. We're always trying to close that gap, get to the next bit. And frequently, women who have been within an organization more than 5 years, so let's say they've been promoted within that organization a couple times, and they've been there more than 5 years, their materials, they need a little Febreze on them, right? They're a little bit stale. And one of the things that I encounter most frequently, well, there's two things. One, most resumes read like a list of job responsibilities. So sometimes what people will do to kind of shortcut into the resume is they'll copy and paste the job description into their resume.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
I'm like, cool.
I feel like I read that somewhere, right? Google it, just like take the job description, put it into your cover letter or resume. Great. You'll get past the algorithm.
Okay.
Cool. Is that working?
That's real cool. However, when we're seeing 300, 400, 500 people apply for a job, you not only have to meet an algorithm or meet a certain, qualification level, you have to be the best.
Right.
And even if you're not the best, if your resume makes you seem like the best, I'm not saying we're lying or anything. Right. Really quantifying what we do. And so first thing I do is I work with my clients to quantify every single bullet. I go after them hard. I'm like, so what? Who flipping cares that you did this?
Right.
Why should I care?
Right.
Why would the executive care? Why is it taking up oxygen on your resume? And so we quantify and qualify everything that goes in there. And that is typically, my clients will send me quarterly reports, or they'll send me their performance reviews, or they'll send me, sales reports, or whatever it might be from their function. And then I just extract the data. So my clients don't have to do that, because typically the people you and I work with are very busy. And so they don't have time. So it's pulling the data in. And so that's the first thing. If you look at your resume today and it looks like a job description, you are underselling yourself by 95%. Flip the script, turn it from responsibility into a result. And when you talk about the results you created, and this is what I've done over my career, I didn't have performance reviews required of me. I didn't have reporting required of me, but I flip and gave myself my own performance review. And I also gave my own reporting so that I knew I was meeting my goals, so that I demonstrated it. So there was no reason why they couldn't promote me next time, right? The second thing I see for women that I'm working with is when they've been growing kind of hierarchically, chronologically within an organization, they'll have started as individual contributors. And so their materials may be positioned in a way that really highlights their accomplishments as an individual, which is cool. Except when we move into that leadership zone, we need to start demonstrating the strategy, the overall ROI, the overall impact that we have at a leadership level over a team or over a business unit. And so the formulation of that and the positioning of that shifts the more elevated you are and becomes slightly less quantifiable in some ways, but there are ways to position it. So those are the two things. The one is, okay, so the first thing I do, what's your goal? Why? Then, okay, great, your resume looks like a job description. Let's turn it into results instead. And then third, let's really elevate this so your leadership experience is exposed rather than your individual contributor experience.
Yeah. I just had you on my Summer of Magic LinkedIn Live series. And one of the things that you talked about was an actual methodology that you lead clients to understand their results. Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah. So, well, there's a few different, and I can't recall exactly.
Right, the exact thing, but I know it was something about results or finding the impact that you make or, like how do you quantify that?
Yeah, exactly. So what I like to do, the first thing is quite simply using the Q formula, and I call that the quantification formula.
Okay.
So it's going to start with the result. What was the outcome? And what did I do to achieve that outcome? And what was the before? So it's kind of like,
okay,
I would say recreating the murder. So
this is so good.
We're going to Agatha Christie this, right? So this is what Agatha Christie did. She recreated the murder and then figured out who the culprit was, right? And we're going to do the exact same thing here with your results. So we want to look at what was the before, what was happening in your role, in your job, in this project. Let's say you had to stand up a new team. Let's say you had to implement a new product. Let's say you were going to merge two teams together. Why? So that's the first question. Why were we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Because in a business, there is always going to be a monetary, quantifiable reason, purpose, KPI, some type of metric that leadership is looking for that we need to hit. And that's why they give you something to do, right? So it's why you're there. And so what's the goal there? And then benchmark where you are now. Okay, so the goal is we want to reduce time to market by 30%, let's say, on this particular product. And, it's taking X right now. We want to get it to Y. And what do you do to make that happen? And then what's the outcome? And so then when we write the resume bullet, though, what we talk about first is the result. Otherwise, we're burying the headline.
They get lost. That's
about.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about, reduce time to market by 30% by implementing new streamlined vendor management processes that improved performance 30 times over last year. Something like that. I just made that up.
Yeah.
But most people get stuck on the how they did something. Some people care how we did something. In our resume, we have to tell them what we did and then how we did it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That was really easy to follow and I get it. And I'm also like, okay, I want more of that. Right. So that's really good. And I'm wondering, as you've been working with leaders to help them on this process, have there been any surprises along the way? Because I know these are processes that you knew worked for you, but the ability to then translate that and help so many people along the way. Anything you want to share?
I would say something that I find is that whether you're working at PepsiCo or Genera serving coffee, the people are all the same. We really do have all the same fears, all the same doubts. There's a humility that a lot of women feel obligated to carry. And by humility, I mean, well, I can't talk about it that way. I'm bragging.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is why, for me, I'm like all about equity and I'm all about data and facts. Because when we share a fact, it's not bragging. It's a fact. It's a fact. And so the surprise to me really, maybe it's more surprise to other people. Like if you think other women or other executives are more confident than you, they're probably not. I mean, they may be in certain areas, but we all have these doubts, and most people want people to like them. And so we do things and compromise ourselves in ways that help people we feel like us more. And so my job is to pull that away. My job is to just bring the facts, and we're not going to apologize for the facts, and we're not going to minimize them either.
Yeah. In my head, I go back to what you said earlier, which is that you want to show them that you're the best person for the job. And maybe you're not the best person for the job, but you can appear as the best person. And what I heard when you said that was, let's think about the woman who always knows, because we were talking a little bit about my recent podcast episode on judgment. So one of the reasons that we have a lot of judgment is because we're better than this other person, right? And then I know the woman who somebody else gets hired, and that person who got hired was not the best person for the job. Like my client would have been the actual best person for the job. And so this idea of, people getting hired who are not actually the best person for the job, but appeared the best person for the job is part of the deal, is part of the game, is part of what's happening. But then you add in these incredible people that you and I work with. And I think that is at its core, this idea that these are corporate badasses. These are women. We're not teaching them how to do a good job. They're already creating these results that nobody else at their company could create. But yet we're helping them take that and quantify it so that then now on paper, it matches how awesome they actually are.
Yes, 100%. And I think, Stacy, that so many times the taking things on and trying things and the whole why not me?
Yeah, exactly.
Doing it can get us into a place where we're kind of overutilized in our roles. And then there's this, careful line we need to watch, because I've seen so many women then in that space be told, and I know you know this, that they're too valuable in their current role to be promoted.
Right.
They're not promotable because they're doing too much in their role that they have right now.
Yeah.
And this is a tricky place for people to be, because she probably is the best person for that next job. And yet she's so capable. She's kept where she is because, they can't fulfill. I hear this so many times. They'll have to hire 3 people to do her job if she leaves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so to be able to then put that onto paper and to say, hey, this is my business case. This is why I'm ready for this job. And with that level of conviction. And you talked about, the people that we think and admire who appear so confidently, they might not actually be. I have this great quote that has always guided me from one of I call her a mentor, but of course you can have mentors that you've never met. But Pema Chodron is a meditation teacher that I have been following for over a decade, much longer, I think, at this point. And she said, people always think that I'm really great at meditating because I've been doing it all my life. And she appears very confident. And she's like, I'm not great at meditating or clearing my thoughts. I just don't care anymore. And I was like, yes, right? So this idea that we need more confidence to then be able to put ourselves out there. And it's that what you're doing in your work by saying, hey, let's put the results first, is we're creating a comfort level with that. That is hard, right? As women, we're taught to be humble. We're taught to have people like us. And that works contradictory to that, putting that results first. And so then sort of seeing, oh, that was actually okay to put that number first. Oh, not only was it okay, but now I'm on to the final round of interviews. Whoa, this is more than okay. I haven't made it that far in a long time. So we're just kind of teasing that open, like really kind of sawing away at like that belief that we have to be perfect, that we have to have the confidence behind it. We can put the numbers first and then build the confidence along the way. I feel like it's the only way.
Yeah. And Stacy, back into this was, I think, 10 minutes ago, we were talking about this, but the creative people who have a more varied past on their resumes, it's exactly when we can take a results-focused approach in documenting their career, that the transferability of that skill to allow them to pivot becomes so clear because we've contextualized it, right? Yeah. We now have context and scale for what they've done in the past. And so then the person reading that document no longer has to make the logical leap to see how that's a transferable skill because we've shown them how it's a transferable skill through the demonstration with data.
Now I'm going to go back to you again, thinking about your own career, and you've already touched on this a little bit, but why do you personally feel motivated to have a voice at the table?
So I'm thinking a lot about this, and I think it goes back to, and I'm hesitating here because I'm like, where do I even start on this?
Yeah, we have more time. Let's dig it.
But, being one of 6 kids, if you didn't open your mouth, you didn't get what you needed. So this is just kind of part of who I am. But then also, as I grew in everything I did, I just am someone who can see how something might be done better. I see it and I'm like, oh, we can shift that. I mean, I was even at the county fair the other day and I'm like, oh, well, they could do this different. And this would trying to manage a county fair now. Right. So, and this really annoys people. It really annoyed my ex-husband, for example, that I could see something and say, maybe we could do this. Yeah. That was very annoying to him. But when I look at it and embrace it, and I think about that seat at the table, what it means to me is access to decision making. So, for example, in my career, I would sit literally in the boardroom with the CEO, with the CFO, and we'd be going over our numbers that we were going to report to the SEC, the numbers we were going to have on our earnings call, and of course, the explanations behind those numbers. And as the strategist for a certain business unit, I would help craft the context behind the numbers, the insights behind the numbers that we were going to share on the earnings report.
There's your through line. It's like, hello. Anyway, I just saw it, right? I mean, listen back to this episode, but she just basically made this transferable skill into the work that she does today through that single statement. I just was like, done, drop the mic. You'll never be able to finish your story. I'm sure I've changed your train of thought, but I just thought it was so brilliant.
Thank you. I've never even noticed that, but thank you. Yeah, it is true. It's like, okay, we have these numbers. Let's pull the context in that we can share in a favorable way, right? And it's really interesting. The conversations before that boardroom conversation are incredible because once you get to that boardroom conversation, there's been so much going on before that has already influenced and almost solidified an outcome. Okay. And so it's having the conversation before the conversation on a regular basis, continuing to build collaborative relationships with people so that you get new ideas, you share your ideas, and then the influence can happen. And why it matters so much to me is because in my role, I was much closer to the day-to-day business. I was much closer to the customer than the people at the executive level might have been. Although they were of course, very close as well, but in a different manner. They were close to other executives, right? So it's really the ability to understand the goal that we have, see the reality of how it's playing out, and then helping shape that possibility, that path to possibility. And I will tell you this, in my time doing those things and leading those conversations and being in those rooms, the way I know that a company has a honest to goodness good culture is what data are they using to make decisions? and how are they rewarding and promoting people within the organization. And when you see those two things in real life, it's very, very clear who's a really great leader, and it's really clear who's a very scared leader. The transparency or lack of transparency, the ability to influence and help make decisions. So that's why I think for me, it's been important to have a voice at the table, because my experience is different than other people's experience. I was frequently the only woman in a room. I have some very heartbreaking stories about being the only woman in a room many times. And, not being afraid to voice a different opinion. And it can be so much pressure to not, because when you're the only woman, one of a few women, and you speak up, all of a sudden you now have a battle. And you really, unfortunately, so many times we just have to keep our shoulders back and keep going. And stand up for others. And so that's why it was important for me. I didn't really, it's not like it was an ego thing for me. I was fascinated by the conversations and the numbers, right? And I was glad to be in there. But then once I was there, I was like, oh, this is where the decisions are getting made. And this is how they're getting made.
And I like
I can influence that.
I like what you said about the meetings before the meetings and the conversations before the meetings is a large part of the decision-making process, because I think where women get tripped up on that whole speaking up concept is that they're waiting, and I mean, rightfully so, like maybe they don't have access until that meeting to then speak up. But what they don't know is they're fighting against all the decisions that were made before they got in that room. So then we think, oh, I shared my opinion and it wasn't received. And so, some of the processes that I teach with the 15-minute ally meetings is how do we get in those before meetings, those decision-making meetings. And I bet you that there's part of the interview process that is also that, like really, whether it is maybe you're not meeting with them, the people interviewing you, but with yourself, like all this unpacking of how you made those decisions. How did they influence? Like, what is your story that actually matters to other leaders that they will hire you and think you're the best person for the job? All of that work then allows you to then be able to speak and share in that interview.
Yeah, you have to evaluate it all, bring the context and the sentiment, the right sentiment to it.
So any other words for my listeners as they're looking to advance their careers, get promoted, final words of wisdom, something that we haven't touched on yet?
I would say just get involved, stick your nose in, and build that team around you like we were just talking about. Like, I think that's part of the success I had over time was in just getting involved in the things that I kind of had no business getting involved in, which got me in a lot of trouble. I got my hand slapped more than once in my corporate job because I got involved in things that I had no business being involved in. But you know what? I'm grateful it didn't hold me back. Of course, they did lay me off, and who knows what went into that decision.
Yeah, exactly. I know. But then the person who didn't speak up might have been right next to you on that layoff sheet. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like, let's just be curious and get involved, build that team of people, those smart people around you, and you're going to know the right people because they're going to be making transparent decisions with the data that matters, not based on their opinions about the data.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so good. So tell us how to find you, work with you, all the things.
Hey, oh, thank you. Well, I am a LinkedIn queen, so you'll find me on LinkedIn. I'm at Kate Wade - Get Her Hired. If you follow me there, I share everything I know and do for my clients for free. I just share everything because, like I said, I'm on a mission to help 10,000 women, cool men and thems to land those executive roles that they've earned. And I do that just by sharing everything. So you can do that. You can go to my website, getherhired.com. And out there, you can sign up for my newsletter. Again, I'm giving out worksheets. I'm giving out toolkits. I'm giving out links to great resources out there every week. So that's how to find me on LinkedIn, on my website at getherhired.com. And I just love getting to do what I do with the women I work with, and helping them see the greatness in themselves is the greatest piece of satisfaction.
It's so good. All right. Thank you, Kate. I really appreciate you and your work, and it's been such an honor to have you on here.
Thank you, Stacy. Have a great day.
You too. Before you go, I have a question for you. Do you know how close you are to your next promotion? Really? Not what your boss has told you, not what you even believe to be true, but have you actually taken the time to sit down, take an assessment, review the 5 categories that it takes to get promoted into senior executive leadership positions and decided where you fall in each category and given yourself a ranking on a scale of 1 to 10 of how close you are to getting your next promotion? Have you done this? Well, now's your chance. If that feels interesting to you and you're like, hey, I want to know exactly how close I might actually be or how far away you might be and what it's going to take to get you even closer, then I invite you to take my promotability quiz. This is a quiz that I put together with practical tips that actually tell you where you're lacking and where you're winning. What are the areas that you actually need to improve and not necessarily what your boss is telling you all the time so that you can take concrete steps towards landing that next promotion and changing the face of the leadership table. Go to yourpromotabilityscore.com to take your free assessment today.